Hi, this is Ms. Contreras. I'm going to be reviewing the LPAC test prep for the listening domain. On this slide right now, you're going to see what we're going to focus on. Like what are the tests testing for, knowing the difference between academic language versus everyday language, knowing the format and process of elimination, note-taking skills, and then how to practice. But before we continue, I want you to go ahead and number your pages. Since that's going to help us work together. There should be a total of 30 pages. So go ahead and pause this presentation and number each page. Once you're ready, go ahead and press play. Okay, so now on page 2, I'm going to read the information on that page. Feel free to follow along or circle any words that you might not know or understand. So what is the test testing you on? The best way to be a test is to know exactly what you are being tested on. The test, the LPAC. The LPAC stands for English Language Proficiency Assessments for California. It is a test that measures a student's English language proficiency in listening, reading, writing, and speaking with regards to academic language. So then what is academic language versus everyday language? You have probably noticed that the textbooks you read in school do not sound like the English language you hear at Starbucks, at the supermarket, or among your friends. That's because there is a difference between the English language used among friends and family, and the English language used in academics and professional environments. The LPAC tests for the student's academic language to ensure that all students have the language needed to do well in school. The state mandates that all EL students take this test and show improvement every year. EL means English learner. But don't worry, this LPAC test prep course is designed not only to improve your academic language in terms of listening, reading, writing, and speaking, but also to give you foolproof test-taking strategies you can use to beat the test. So now if you turn to page 3 in your packet, you're going to see the same questions. I formatted the page a little bit different. I wrote the questions on the left side and then I gave you the response section on the right side. The reason why I did that is because this is going to follow with the flow of Cornell Notes, which is a note-taking style that you're going to learn. This is going to help you help your brain remember, okay, I need to start writing my either my questions on my left or my keywords on my left, and then my responses on the right. So what test will the state use to measure a student's English proficiency? That's number 1. Go ahead and answer in your packet underneath the 1 or next to the 1. And number 2, what kind of language will the test measure? That's going to be right here. Now, if you don't remember, you can feel free to go back to page 2 and reread it, or listen to the audio of what I just read. It's the same information. Now, if we turn to page 4, I'm going to read some information and then we can talk about what is academic language versus everyday language. So know the difference between academic language versus everyday language. Academic language is also called the formal register because it tends to be more formal compared to everyday language, or the informal register. The LPAC will test you for academic language skills. Have a teacher or a tutor read the following sentence out loud to you. Rate the sentences on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is completely formal and 5 is extremely formal. Reading out loud helps you hear the difference in the registers better. So for this section, what I'm going to have you do is choose, actually just use a pencil, okay? And you're going to rate these sentences from 1 through 5. And then we're going to review a second portion of these sentences on another slide. You're going to use a colored pencil or a pen to review those answer choices. Okay, so right now all I'm going to do is read them out loud. You're going to circle them. First one. Dude, do you want to come over to my house to watch movies later? Second one. Would you be interested in watching a movie later? Do you want a guarantee for your new phone? Would you be interested in purchasing a guarantee with your new phone? Can I get a cheeseburger and fries? I'd like a cheeseburger and fries, please. This TV show totally sucks. I'm not a fan of that show. I find that particular show to be rather off-putting. She was unable to complete the assignment on time. She couldn't do the work. I don't know why they put up with that. So I have finished reading these sentences out loud. I want you to go ahead and pause this video, read them to yourself, go ahead and circle them with the pencil, and determine which level they're in. Okay, after you've completed that, you're going to then review with the teacher to see what, and compare the teacher's responses. Now I'm going to read the second set. Okay, and in this set we're going to work together. It's unclear why the organizers tolerated the problem for so long. This is going to be on page 5 of your packet. Well, we could go tomorrow. It's possible that the weather will permit us to travel tomorrow. You know, the homework is a lot harder than it looks. According to the students, the assignment was much more difficult than it first appeared. You could call your doctor if you feel sick. The doctor should be notified if the patient's health deteriorates. I think that was a lame excuse. The reasons provided were unsatisfactory. Substantial revisions are needed before the project can be considered complete. They'll have to do a lot of work to bring that project up to par. I am a great candidate for the position because of my significant office experience, strong language skills, and sense of organization. I think can do the job because I've done that sort of work in the past. I have an awesome vocabulary and I'm really well organized. Okay, so let's go back. I read them out loud. And we're going to start with this sentence right here. It's unclear why the organizers tolerated the problem for so long. What do you think this would fall under? A 1 meaning it's very low. A 2 is like getting a little bit better. A 3 is in the middle. You're kind of unsure. A 4 or a 5. 5 being the most formal academic language. I rated this between a 4 and a 5. Okay. Why? Look at the vocabulary that they used. Tolerated the problem for so long. Here they could be more specific as in time. How long is so long? So that could be like in months and years. If they would have added that information in there, that would have made it a solid 5. So that's why I'm saying it's between a 4 or 5. Now if we go to the second one, well, we could go tomorrow. That one's an in-between for me because we don't know what happened before. So I would say this is more of a 3. Well, we could go tomorrow. There's no spelling errors. It's the punctuation is correct, so I would give that a 3. It doesn't give us more information, but it's pretty solid sentence. We go to the next one. It's possible that the weather will permit us to travel tomorrow. So this one I rated a 4. Simply because the vocabulary as well. Permit, possible, there's a period, the apostrophe. So everything seems to follow grammar rules. And the information is understandable. Now if we go to the next one. You know the homework is a lot harder than it looks. So here I would rate this a 3, maybe a 2, only because the vocabulary that they use is a lot harder than it looks. It could be more difficult, it's more challenging, it appears to be more difficult. So just by changing that wording, it can make it more into academic language. If we go to the next one, According to the students, the assignment was much more difficult than it first appeared. There you go. So I would give that definitely a 5. It's the vocabulary according to, right? More difficult than it first appeared. So that's just the type of vocabulary that they're using in here that enhances the academic language. You could call your doctor if you feel sick. That's a basic sentence statement. I would say a 3 because you're able to communicate and people are able to understand you. The doctor should be notified if the patient's health deteriorates. This one I gave a 5 because of the vocabulary. The type of health deteriorates, which is a negative word, which is getting worse. If you feel sick, usually you're a patient, right? So they use the word patient. Notified means to inform, right? So the vocabulary that is being used here is a little bit higher level, so that's why I gave it a 5. I think that was a lame excuse. Anytime somebody is speaking and uses cuss words or uses words that are not academic language like lame, then that tells you that's everyday language. And so if you were to go for a job interview and they were to ask you, what would you do if one of your colleagues is not showing up to work on time? And you responded, I think that was a lame excuse. This is not academic language or professional language, so they might not think the best of you. So you want to say, I don't think that reason is sufficient for the employee to be terminated. You see how I can elevate that sentence by using the different vocabulary. Okay, so now I'm just going to tell you the responses that I gave for the following ones. The reasons provided were unsatisfactory. I gave it a 4. Now I want you to think about why I gave that a 4. The following one, substantial revisions are needed before the project can be considered complete. Gave that a 5. The next one, they'll have to do a lot of work to bring that project up to par. I gave that a 5. I am a great candidate for the position because of my significant office experience, strong language skills, and sense of organization. I gave that a 5. And then the last one, I think can do the job because I've done that sort of work in the past. I have an awesome vocabulary. I'm really well organized. I gave that one a 2. So on this side of the slide, I want you to think about why these were ranked that way, okay? Which is going to help you answer the following questions. On page 5, it has questions like, what makes a sentence more formal and what makes a sentence less formal? So before you continue with the video, go ahead and pause this video so you can answer those questions. Okay, so here we have a compare and contrast graph or diagram where we're comparing academic language and everyday language, and then so the comparison part is happening right here, and then the contrasting part is happening on the ends over here. Okay, right here. So what is academic language and what is everyday language, and how are they both used, right? So both of them use the word language. So here you would write language, right? And then here, what is the difference between everyday language and what's the difference between academic language? When would you give me an example of when would you use everyday language, and give me an example of when you would use academic language? So by completing that diagram, the compare and contrast, you're also going to be able to answer the questions on page 6 of your packet. When do you think it is appropriate to use a more formal language? When do you think it is appropriate to use a less formal language? So on the packet, it's more just question and response. You can draw out the diagram onto page 6, and that will complete this task right there on that page. Or you can go ahead and answer the questions on page 6. Either way, you're fulfilling the task. Now, if you go to page 7, There's more